and welcome, fellow human light beings. In this video, I'm going to be sharing with you the introduction to the advanced HUAR mantra technique for pineal activation. This technique, the mantra combined with the physical technique, will supercharge the pineal transceiver to shift to 5D and to create your 5D world. And the entire technique will soon be uploaded to the thunderwizard.com shop, where you can get this entire teaching, and I'm going to be teaching you specifically in detail what you can be doing. I'm also going to be including in that an advanced HUAR Qigong physical movement. So this mantra, the HUAR mantra, is by far, in my experience, the single most powerful technique for shifting to the 5D, and it is the single most powerful mantra, and the technique that I'm going to be teaching you is also the most powerful technique for activating the pineal gland, which is a transceiver. It's a 3D to 5D transceiver. Your astral body and your consciousness goes through the pineal gland to higher dimensions, and higher dimensional energy and information is transmitted back through your pineal gland. This is what creates the third eye. It's called the third eye, not because there's a physical eyeball there, but because it allows you to see. It allows you to see, hear, and experience. And so, anyway, let's just get right into it. So, what is the HUAR seed sound mantra? So let's talk about seed sounds. Seed sounds exist as frequencies in the fabric of the multiverse. So if you have any experience with yoga or mantra, you've heard of bija mantra, you've heard of seed sounds. The most famous seed sound is the Om mantra. And that mantra is creation and maintenance and transformation. There are three syllables to it: A, U, Om, Aum, and those three syllables are the third dimension. That's why it's the most popular mantra in the third dimension, because it literally spiritualizes the third dimension, and that's why people have been chanting it for, however many thousands of years. So based on my experience, I believe that this HUAR mantra is going to be the seed sound for the fifth dimension. So very briefly, how I came to learn this mantra is, as you know, a year and a half ago, I started human initiated contact with higher dimensional extraterrestrial beings. As you know, I talk about it all the time. It was tremendously transformative, and the light being that initiated me into, I'm assuming, his practice or the practices that he has since taught me, that being showed up one day. This was early on in my interaction with him, and you watch the video How I Became an Extraterrestrial. That's actually my initiation. He initiated me, literally, put his finger on my crown chakra and initiated me into his practice, into his teaching. And so after the beginning of that, probably a week or so later, this being showed up. This time it was official. He showed up in his ship, which was a bright ruby red electric sphere. It was enormous, and it was just amazing to look at, and I could see it descending through the clouds, and I got up and looked out the window, and as soon as I did, of course, it disappeared, because they put themselves at risk for humans if they spend too much time manifested in the third dimension. But I knew what that meant. I knew that he was saying that he wanted to meditate with me. That's the signal. When they show up, they're saying, let's meditate, because that's how they communicate. They can communicate telepathically when you're in a state of meditation. So I went into a state of meditation and I invited him into my home. And his energy did come into my home. And he began to teach me numerous things. And one of them was he started teaching me this HUAR breath. You hear it in the background. That was how he was teaching me how to pronounce it, where to put the sound, and all of that. And so I felt the power of it. And that's all I knew, that it was very powerful. Now, I've been practicing and experimenting with this mantra for over a year and a half. And the results have been absolutely phenomenal. I haven't taught any of the really advanced techniques yet, and that's because I never really teach anything until I have mastered it. So in this video, if you are getting this from the entire teaching video small series from the thunderwizard.com website, then I'm going to be teaching you an advanced technique to be using this in meditation, which will completely, totally supercharge the pineal gland, and you'll be able to accomplish far more than just the normal chanting. Now, don't get me wrong. There's absolutely nothing superficial or minor about chanting this mantra just by chanting it. So don't let that stop you. If you haven't and you're not ready for the advanced technique, go ahead and chant the mantra, listen to it. That's why it's always in the background, because it will still have a profound effect on you. In any case, let's talk about what this seed sound is. And I'm going to give you, if you don't already know, I'm going to give you some understanding about seed sounds and give you a better understanding of how powerful this HUAR mantra is. All right, so seed sounds exist as frequencies in the fabric of the multiverse. So if you've done any kind of yoga or meditation, you are familiar with seed sounds. You've probably heard the term bija mantra. The Om mantra is a bija mantra. It is the seed sound for the third dimension. It has 3 syllables in it, which is the creation, maintenance, and transformation of the third dimension. The HUAR breath is going to be, I believe, the mantra for the 5th dimension. So it is absolutely the mantra of transformation to 5D. Now, these seed sounds are not made up. They are very ancient syllables that have meaning, and as I've come to understand, these syllables have meaning not only in earth languages, but in other languages as well, even in higher dimensions. And they exist. It's not like you're making up a word or a sound and it has power because you put a mental belief into it, which is true in a lot of, usual, when we're intending something and using language, we can supercharge our language to create. That's not what these are. These are frequencies that are continuously vibrating throughout the multiverse. And when you line up with one of these frequencies, you chant it mentally or with the voice. When you write them, all those things, you're tapping into a specific frequency in the multiverse. So it'll have its own power and its own frequency. This is true with all mantras, but especially with the bija, the seed sound mantras. So the HUAR breath is the frequency that's shifting from 3 to 5D. All right, so this is not something that I made up, or a sound I made up and put meaning to, or a sound, a light being made up and put meaning to. No, this is already existing. It's constantly being vibrated throughout the universe at that frequency. And if you're not at that frequency, of course, you're not able to hear it or tap into it. But when you do chant it, you begin to go to the frequency where that exists. And the frequency where that exists is in fact 5D Earth. So seed sounds are seen by shamans or are transmitted to shamans by light beings. So when I say seen, it means that, again, they're not making it up. So you may have heard the term rishi, which is the Vedic term for shamans who channel and transmit mantras. And you know, all of the Vedas, the hymns, they weren't written by somebody. These were shamans went into deep meditation and began singing them. And they'd sing them over and over again, and people would listen, and then they would, you know, memorize them and write them down. And those are the Vedas. Same thing with mantras. For instance, you know, the famous mantra for Shiva, which is called the Triambakam, the three-eyed mantra, which is used for enlightenment and healing. It's from the Veda, and it's a song, and it's taken out of a huge hymn. And the mantra, when you hear it in its original form, is Triambakam yajammahe sugandhim pushtivartanam urvarukamiva bandhanam mrityurmukshiyam amritat. And when you sing that, you're actually singing the frequency that was in the universe as that shaman transmitted it. So that's what we're dealing with here. So rishis, they're not making it up. They see it, and they're just simply reporting what they see. And literally, rishi means somebody who sees the truth. Truth meaning that which truly exists, right? So this mantra is one of those. So the HUAR seed sound mantra is a combination of two seed sounds. Seed sound for Earth, which is Hu, and the solar sound, which is AR. Now the interesting thing about this, I've also, that in that same session, that same teaching session with the light being, when he taught me this mantra, he was also teaching me about runes. So I came to find out that runes are also something that came directly from higher dimensions. It's not something that some Norse shaman made up somewhere and wrote it down. No, the sounds, maybe the specific symbols might have been taken from other written languages, as many people might think. It's up for debate. But the actual sounds themselves of the runes, those are actually vibrations from the universe. So runes and mantra are in that, they're slightly different, but they're in the same category. They're seen, they vibrate in the universe. When you chant runes, you are vibrating certain things that exist in the fabric of the multiverse. So the interesting thing about this is that the Hu sound is found all over, and it means the earth. There's, I believe the Sufis use the sound. The Ekankar people, that cult, the Ekankar cult, was actually taken from the Sikh religion. So the guy who created Ekankar, and he made all that stuff up, he actually started working with a Sikh master, and he learned the Hu sound. Now you have heard it in that, they call it HU, because somebody's reading HU and they think it's pronounced Hugh. So when you hear the Ekankar guys going Hugh, they're actually trying to chant the Hu sound, which is the earth sound. It doesn't stop there. The Taoists, when you do the 5 element breaths, which I teach you here in the 90-day challenge at the thunderwizard.com subscription site, and I've taught it for free in various places as well. The Hu sound is the Taoist sound for the earth element. Now, if you look at the runes, the 2 runes would be Hagalaz, the H sound, and Uruz, the U sound. So when you put those together, you get the same thing. You have the power of healing. So the Hagalaz is the power of healing. It's also the power of self-examination, which is what creates healing. And the Uruz sound is the descending sound, the sound of descending power to earth from heaven. So that's why earth is such a healing, that's why just grounding yourself is so healing. And when you chant the hu sound or the hul breath, which is also something that was given to me in meditation many years ago, the hu sound is the healing energy that is the descending to earth power from heaven. So that's earth. When you chant hu, you're bringing power down from heaven and descending it into physical reality, in our case, the third dimension. So that is combined with the ar sound. So HUAR. So these are two seed sounds. The ar sound is created with, again, two syllables. The first one is the ah sound. Now the ah sound in the runic understanding is the sound for divine communication. It's also when people understand things, they go ah. Or when something feels really good, they go ah. That's you're connecting to higher dimensional frequencies when you do that. So the Ansuj rune, which is the ah sound, is the connection to the ancestors. That's what Ansuj means, is ancestor. And so what you're doing is you're connecting, communicating. It's divine communication with the ancestors and with the deities, with the light beings. So that is combined with the ar sound, the Raido rune. And Raido is a solar rune. And it means literally the sun riding across the sky. So it means the track of the sun. So the R sound also, you've seen it in Ra, which is the sun god of Egypt, and it's also in rays of sun. So that R sound is a solar sound. And so as you know, the solar flash is, which we are currently undergoing, is what's bringing all of the change and the awakening and the transformation that's happening on Earth. So you have Ar, which means the divine communication from the sun. So Hu-Ar means Earth being communicated to by solar energies. And that combination creates the new 5D Earth, Hu-Ar. The Hu-Ar translates into 3D Earth as that is transformed by solar energy. So I forgot to put the word which. So the translation would be that which is transformed by solar energy, or 3D Earth that is transformed by solar energy. So we've already talked about that. Chanting HUAR is the most condensed seed mantra for the solar flash awakening. So I'm telling you this, I didn't know that when I was given that. This has come, as I got this mantra, I've continued to get the intuition and the feeling that you need to teach this to people. So that's why it's always in the background when I'm talking. That's why, I chant it with you live. I tell people to chant it. A lot of people are running around chanting it. That's why. It's because I knew that this was very powerful and had something to do with this transformation. Now I have a better understanding and I can completely lay it out for you. By the way, forgive me, there's rain hitting my roof as we're talking. Been a lot of rain here lately. So, the HUAR is the most condensed seed mantra for the solar flash awakening. It is the frequency for the solar flash awakening. That's it. So when you want to, if you're worried, am I going to shift? Not a problem. Chant the HUAR mantra and let the transformation take place on all levels. Physical, mental, emotional, psychological. Allow yourself to go through whatever shifts. Allow your life to change. Get rid of the things you don't need. Whatever relationships fall apart. new relationships come into your life, whatever job you're getting rid of, new jobs or new businesses. A lot of people right now are going to start creating their own services and their own businesses, because we're shifting into a time when there aren't going to be any jobs. You're not going to be getting paid to just be a robot automaton, making money for somebody else. You are going to be giving of your essence. If you do create things, even if you do a service job, whether it's, we're going to still need cooks, we're going to need chefs, we're going to need people building houses. So even if you do something, even if it involves labor, it's going to be coming from inside of you because you enjoy it. And people won't be getting money in exchange for their time like they are now, which is basically slavery. It's a form of slavery. So when you chant this condensed seed mantra, you are chanting the seed mantra for the solar flash awakening. HUAR is also the most powerful and direct way to awaken and use the pineal gland. So the pineal gland is that gland in the center of your brain, in the third eye. The reason why we call it the third eye is because if we trace it back here, there's a gland in the middle of your brain, the pineal. And it's made up of crystals. And there's also fluid. People call it the Christ fluid and things like that, which is energy that comes up and down the spine. This pump is always going up and down the spine. And when you learn how to, which I'm going to teach you, how to create that pump. By the way, all of the Maoshan Qigong, especially the moving practices, the 5-element moving practices, these stimulate, without you even realizing it, you stimulate the pump, which sends that fluid, that energy up to the pineal gland, and then creates that electromagnetic field. This is what the pineal gland does. It creates an electromagnetic field as a result of the crystals moving inside of it. So HUAR is the most powerful and direct way to awaken and use the pineal gland. The pineal gland is the transceiver from 3D to 5D and from 5D to 3D. It's very important. So the pineal gland, this is why the crown chakra is so important. This is why when in Kundalini Yoga, when you get to the crown chakra, you go into samadhi, which is, it's just basically going into that trance state. If you've done this practice and you've gone into that trance state and you've gone to 5D, you've stimulated the crown chakra, which again is the pineal gland. So a transceiver is something that sends information and receives information. And this is what your body is meant to do, the chakras and everything, all that stuff. But the pineal gland is really the antenna. And without it, we wouldn't be able to accomplish anything in higher dimensions. So anyway, that seems fairly obvious. So the pineal gland is the transceiver from 3D to 5D, from 5D to 3D. A human in the third dimension is able to create physical matter and energy in the fifth dimension, which will directly affect the third dimension. So this is what happens when you manifest through meditation. When you do the quantum field meditation, which I've been putting up on my channel after every video, and I hope you've been doing that, you've been going to the fifth dimension. And again, joy is a fifth dimensional property, and it's a property of the pineal gland. This is why, every time I do interdimensional meditation, and I go to that realm, it always puts me in a state of deep bliss, no matter what's going on in my life. I might be really upset and messed up about something, in the 3D, and I'll go into meditation, and I'll be full of bliss, and then I'll come back and I'll be stoned from all of the bliss, and then I wake up the next morning and I'm back in my 3D nonsense. So my point is, you don't have to be perfect. We all are able to get to that place, and joy is absolutely necessary. This is why the shamanic secret commandment is about operating from your joy. Maybe you're not feeling it at the moment, but you know where it is. I know where it is for me. On 3D Earth, surfing on a regular basis in warm water and tropical surroundings. When I do that, I'm in bliss. So even when I'm not doing it, I do everything in my physical life so I can do it. That is what I mean by going after your bliss no matter what. So that primes us to be able to do and go to the fifth dimension. Anyway, I'm getting off topic here. So the pineal gland is the transceiver from 3D to 5D and 5D to 3D. A human in the third dimension is able to create matter and energy in 5D, which will directly affect 3D. In other words, when you go to 5D and you meditate on something, focus on something, you come back to 3D, that thing may not be physically here with you, but you've already created it, and it's going to be created and it will show up in your 3D world. Now the good news is it also works the other way around, where we go into 5D and we create 5D. Well, when we get to 5D, all that stuff's going to be waiting for us. And this is done through this transceiver called the pineal gland, is my point. It's very important. And HUAR breath, we're going to find out, that's the whole point of the HUAR breath, is to really powerfully awaken this pineal transceiver. The pineal gland, when fully activated, is also a transporter to the fifth dimension. So there are people who have experienced this. They go deep into meditation, and if they're doing a meditation that stimulates the pineal, they'll wake up and they'll physically be in another place. They won't know how the heck they got there. And then when the meditation finishes, they'll find themselves waking up back in their body. If you've had shamanic dreams, lucid dreams, where you're physically in other places and then you wake up back in your physical body, well, you know what got you there was your pineal gland. It literally will transport you there. So we'll see, but I have some thoughts about what that means in terms of the solar flash. When a human physically ascends to 5D and leaves the third dimension, it is through the pineal gland. HUAR mantra speeds up the solar flash ascension event, because HUAR is the frequency of the solar flash ascension. When you chant it, you are literally stimulating that. That's why when we do these meditations, or when you go and do the recorded meditations I have on there, not only are you beginning to shift, but you're also helping everybody shift. So this is why I believe it's going to be important for us to keep doing this mantra. And I'm hoping as time goes on that more and more people will hear about it and more people will be doing it, because the more people who chant it, the faster this event will take place. So combining the physical techniques to stimulate the pineal with the HUAR mantra is so far, in my knowledge, the most advanced technique for accomplishing this. So that's why in the next video I am going to be giving you the specific techniques. I'm also going to be giving you a standing, you can also do it sitting, moving HUAR breath, qigong, which is physical movement, which will again stimulate the technique, which is the pump that takes the fluid up the spinal column into the pineal gland, and then literally stimulates the pineal gland with the fluid, and the crystals vibrate and create an electromagnetic field, which is in fact the antenna that you use to transceive both to and from 3D to 5D. So that'll be in the next video. So go ahead and go to thunderwizard.com, which is the Patreon channel, and look at that. Go to the shop, so I'm going to have it there in the shop, and you'll be able to download that video and keep it for all time and use it. So if it's not up after watching this video, just know that it's going to be up within the next 24 to 48 hours, so just keep going back. More than likely you're watching this long after it's been there, so just go to thunderwizard.com and you can get the rest of this pineal gland technique. In the meantime, you can still use the mantra. I have all kinds of videos with the mantra, chanting the mantra, You can hear it. All you have to do is repeat it, mentally do it. Do the HUAR breath. If you don't know what that is, go and just type into YouTube HUAR breath, HUUL breath, and you'll see videos from me about 15 years ago teaching you how to do the HUAR breath. You just do the same exact technique, but instead of the HUAR sound, it's the HUAR. So you got plenty of stuff between now and then if you're not ready to go and do the advanced technique. There's plenty of stuff available, so don't be upset. Plenty of stuff to do. And any of these techniques, if you spend your life mastering them, will give you everything I just talked about. All right? So that's it. I'll see you on the channel. The rain's telling me to stop talking. And again, go to thunderwizard.com and click around until you find the advanced HUAR pineal gland meditation technique. Thank you, my friends. I'll see you very soon.